Character is like a tree and reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it, the tree is the real thing. Sir, my concern is not whether God is on our side, my greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right. You can fool all the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. Most folks are about as happy as they make their minds up to be. No man has a good enough memory to be a successful liar. Human action can be modified to some extent, but human nature cannot be changed. Love is the chain to lock a child to its parent. There are no bad pictures, that's just how your face looks sometimes. You can tell the greatness of a man by what makes him angry. Common-looking people are the best in the world, that is the reason the Lord makes so many of them. He has a right to criticize, who has a heart to help. Tact. The ability to describe others as they see themselves. A farce or comedy is best played, a tragedy is best read at home. Upon the subject of education, not presuming to dictate any plan or system respecting it, I can only say that I view it as the most important subject which we as a people can be engaged in. For people who like that kind of a book, that is the kind of book they will like. I am rather inclined to silence, and whether that be wise or not, it is at least more unusual nowadays to find a man who can hold his tongue than to find one who cannot. I don't like that man. I must get to know him better. When you reach the end of your rope, tie a knot and hang on. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak out and remove all doubt. Leave nothing for tomorrow which can be done today. Adhere to your purpose and you will soon feel as well as you ever did. On the contrary, if you falter, and give up, you will lose the power of keeping any resolution, and will regret it all your life. And in the end it is not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorn bushes have roses. Every man's happiness is his own responsibility. If I am killed, I can die but once, but to live in constant dread of it, is to die over and over again. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. I would rather be a little nobody, than to be an evil somebody. I have been driven many times upon my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had nowhere else to go. My own wisdom and that of all about me seemed insufficient for that day. Always bear in mind that your own resolution to success is more important than any other thing. I'm a success today because I had a friend who believed in me and I didn't have the heart to let him down. I have a congenital aversion to failure. I happen temporarily to occupy this big white house. I am living witness that any one of your children may look to come here as my father's child has. The greatest fine art of the future will be the making of a comfortable living from a small piece of land. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live by the light that I have. I must stand with anybody that stands right, and stand with him while he is right, and part with him when he goes wrong. And having thus chosen our course, without guile, and with pure purpose, let us renew our trust in God, and go forward without fear, and with manly hearts. Human nature will not change. In any future great national trial, compared with the men of this, we shall have as weak and as strong, as silly and as wise, as bad and as good. What is to be, will be, and no prayers of ours can arrest the decree. Let every American, every lover of liberty, every well-wisher to his posterity, swear by the blood of the Revolution, never to violate in the least particular, the laws of the country, and never to tolerate their violation by others. I claim not to have controlled events, but confess plainly that events have controlled me. I know not how to aid you, save in the assurance of one of mature age, and much severe experience, that you cannot fail, if you resolutely determine, that you will not. I have not permitted myself, gentlemen, to conclude that I am the best man in the country, but I am reminded, in this connection, of a story of an old Dutch farmer who remarked to a companion once that, it was not best to swap horses while crossing streams. I have stepped out upon this platform that I may see you and that you may see me, and in the arrangement I have the best of the bargain. The demon of intemperance ever seems to have delighted in sucking the blood of genius and of generosity. This is a world of compensations, and he who would be no slave, must consent to have no slave. Those who deny freedom to others, deserve it not for themselves, and, under a just God, cannot long retain it. As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. This expresses my idea of democracy. In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free, honorable alike in what we give, and what we preserve. We shall nobly save, or meanly lose, the last best hope of earth. You think slavery is right and should be extended, while we think slavery is wrong and ought to be restricted. That, I suppose, is the rub. It certainly is the only substantial difference between us. The one victory we can ever call complete will be that one which proclaims that there is not one slave or one drunkard on the face of God's green earth. All I ask for the Negro is that if you do not like him, let him alone. If God gave him but little, that little let him enjoy. I leave you, hoping that the lamp of liberty will burn in your bosoms until there shall no longer be a doubt that all men are created free and equal. No man is good enough to govern another man, without that other's consent. I say this is the leading principle, the sheet anchor of American republicanism. It may seem strange that any men should dare to ask a just God's assistance in wringing their bread from the sweat of other men's faces, but let us judge not that we be not judged. The prayers of both could not be answered, that of neither has been answered fully. The Almighty has his own purposes. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, to do all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace, among ourselves, and with all nations. I have never studied the art of paying compliments to women, but I must say that if all that has been said by orators and poets since the creation of the world in praise of women were applied to the women of America, it would not do them justice for their conduct during this war. I will close by saying, God bless the women of America. In regard to this great book, I have but to say, it is the best gift God has given to man. All the good the Savior gave to the world was communicated through this book. The will of God prevails. In great contests each party claims to act in accordance with the will of God. Both may be, and one must be, wrong. God cannot be for and against the same thing at the same time. In the present civil war it is quite possible that God's purpose is something different from the purpose of either party, and yet the human instrumentalities, working just as they do, are of the best adaptation to effect his purpose. I care not for a man's religion whose dog and cat are not the better for it. Let us have faith that right makes might, and in that faith, let us, to the end, dare to do our duty as we understand it. The United States government must not undertake to run the churches. When an individual, in the church or out of it, becomes dangerous to the public interest, he must be checked. Any people anywhere, being inclined and having the power, have the right to rise up, and shake off the existing government, and form a new one that suits them better. This is a most valuable, a most sacred right, a right, which we hope and believe, is to liberate the world. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. I do not expect the union to be dissolved. I do not expect the house to fall, but I do expect it will cease to be divided. It will become all one thing or all the other. This country, with its institutions, belongs to the people who inhabit it. Whenever they shall grow weary of the existing government, they can exercise their constitutional right of amending it, or their revolutionary right to dismember it or overthrow it. I desire to so conduct the affairs of this administration that if at the end, when I come to lay down the reins of power, I have lost every other friend on earth, I shall at least have one friend left, and that friend shall be down inside of me. Public sentiment is everything. With public sentiment, nothing can fail, without it nothing can succeed. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. I cannot make it better known than it already is that I strongly favor colonization. Discourage litigation. Persuade your neighbors to compromise whenever you can. Point out to them how the nominal winner is often a real loser in fees, expenses, and waste of time. As a peacemaker, the lawyer has a superior opportunity of being a good man. There will still be business enough. The love of property and consciousness of right and wrong have conflicting places in our organization, which often makes a man's course seem crooked, his conduct a riddle. What is conservatism? Is it not adherence to the old and tried, against the new and untried? Elections belong to the people. It's their decision. If they decide to turn their back on the fire and burn their behinds, then they will just have to sit on their blisters. When I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. That's my religion. Labor is prior to, and independent of, capital. Capital is only the fruit of labor, and could never have existed if labor had not first existed. Labor is the superior of capital, and deserves much the higher consideration. Property is the fruit of labor. Property is desirable, is a positive good in the world. That some should be rich shows that others may become rich, and hence is just encouragement to industry and enterprise. Let not him who is houseless pull down the house of another, but let him labor diligently and build one for himself, thus by example assuring that his own shall be safe from violence when built. I can make a general in 5 minutes, but a good horse is hard to replace. My father taught me to work, but not to love it. I never did like to work, and I don't deny it. I'd rather read, tell stories, crack jokes, talk, laugh, anything but work. We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory, stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land, will yet swell the chorus of the Union, when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature. If we have no friends, we have no pleasure, and if we have them, we are sure to lose them, and be doubly pained by the loss. I distrust the wisdom if not the sincerity of friends who would hold my hands while my enemies stab me. I never encourage deceit, and falsehood, especially if you have got a bad memory, is the worst enemy a fellow can have. The fact is, truth is your truest friend, no matter what the circumstances are. I'm a success today because I had a friend who believed in me and I didn't have the heart to let him down. Whatever you are, be a good one. I am a slow walker, but I never walk back. Those who look for the bad in people will surely find it. Be sure you put your feet in the right place, then stand firm. I will prepare and someday my chance will come. I do the very best I know how, the very best I can, and I mean to keep on doing so until the end. My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. I have always found that mercy bears richer fruits than strict justice. Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. I am in favor of animal rights as well as human rights. That is the way of a whole human being. Towering genius disdains a beaten path. It seeks regions hitherto unexplored. There is no grievance that is a fit object of redress by mob law. If you are resolutely determined to make a lawyer of yourself, the thing is more than half done already. The greatest fine art of the future will be the making of a comfortable living from a small piece of land. Our reliance is in the love of liberty which God has planted in our bosoms. Our defense is in the preservation of the spirit which prizes liberty as the heritage of all men, in all lands, everywhere. Peace does not appear so distant as it did. I hope it will come soon, and come to stay, and so come as to be worth the keeping in all future time. I have here stated my purpose according to my view of official duty, and I intend no modification of my oft expressed personal wish that all men everywhere could be free. In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free, honorable alike in what we give, and what we preserve. We shall nobly save, or meanly lose, the last best hope of earth. Thanks for watching. If you like this videos, don't forget to subscribe, like, share and comment.